So many, many times I've wondered, am I enough? Wandering eyes through bookshelves, fingers strolling amongst the books and the words inside them, then strolling from home to home, from bench to bench, hoping to find myself, or rather, to find an answer to the question of, am I enough? Nothing ever responded. Not that I wanted it to, because it wouldn't be something I clung to either way. A response, a word, like a promise, I simply do not allow myself to hold on to. For what does that even mean? Oftentimes, I don't want to speak, for I have nothing to say, and I feel that with each word, uttered, whispered or spoken, a word can lose meaning. And most of the time, I prefer these type of images, these videos, these spaces and places to speak for themselves without my voice here to guide them, or attempt to make something of them, to change them. Words change things, and I don't like that, though I rely on them fondly. And most people won't like this sort of creation of silence, for what does silence say? What does it even mean? But does it have to mean anything? Often I find it a gift, and most of the time I don't like to fill it, but simply share it with another by my side from time to time. But a true gift it is to give silence and offer it to yourself. And I fear that many might not understand the language of silence, and so I begin to fill the void. And so I find myself and put myself into strange and beautiful little corners of the world, wondering and whispering to myself into my notebooks. They're the only things that get me, that hear me, that do not listen, for they do not respond, but they hear me or rather, they give me a place to hold on to me and to hear myself, a place to call home, even if I lose those pages, like in those nightmarish dreams I have from time to time. There are very little things I hold on to, and I keep them with me in this little case, this little suitcase of my heart. I run away into nature when I remember it exists. I often forget about it, suffocated amongst city walls that they call architecture, and amongst people's faces that in my eyes lack some sort of humanity. Or perhaps I just get too wrapped up in my head, and so I find solace in my tears, and that's when I remember nature exists, and I flee to it. Somehow there, always there, anytime, any day, just like the empty landscape of my pages of these collected notebooks. Nature is there, and unresponsive, a simple space to hear my breath and my tears, for me to return to love again, to myself again, to my own love, my own world. My words are my world, and I ought to liberate them, for they are not quite or ever were fully my own. Time moves on apparently. The seasons turn and change, twist and turn in their bed, never quite content in their cycle of sleep. And here I still am, somehow still bothered and struck into paralysis by these thoughts, that time moves on, and apparently I haven't. In this life, I will die quietly and be forgotten, and I can't wait for that moment, perhaps only for the fact that I can forget these worries, the worries I've so delicately and loyally chosen, picked as my own, those of am I enough, or can I allow myself to be happy if I am not enough, and for me to be enough, it can only be when I've found my place in this world, and still I haven't. Still that teenage self, clueless and quietly depressed. Still that childish self, overjoyed at the small silly things, the fleeting things, and forgetting the upcoming grief of adulthood. I always grieved adulthood, even before it came. I knew, and I saw it as some perplexing thing to be avoided, flawed and ugly to the core, with all its stupid responsibilities. But maybe it isn't that deep. But still I smile through the tears, through these years, when someone asks if I'm okay, if I want a hug, which I kindly reject. Do I choose this grief, or do I just need it from time to time, to feel relatable, to connect with people, to understand them? Or perhaps, like that quiet, fearful child, it's just something inside me, a little light, that needs to be held and tended to from time to time. I ask for no one to hold this grief for me. It is mine, and mine to hold and let go alone. I only beg for these pages, these moments to collapse into a sea of nothing in the end of it all, and it will, because, silly, it is all meaningless anyway, and at that we must laugh, so I've been told. promise myself that this time I will liberate all the accumulated words and stories from the notebooks that slowly become my muse, my jealousy, my burden. And yet here I am, adding more and more to the endless black hole of creations, expressions, yet to be explored, exposed to the world. Or do they need to be? I tell myself that perhaps they are my potential, left untouched and slowly wiltering. I have no idea. I've put an oath upon myself for me to spend the rest of this life liberating these pages of their lost virginity and innocence. I took it from them when I chose to place my grief upon them. In the end, I suppose the essence of what it is I expressed and wanted to say has either long evaporated from me, or the bare essence of it will come through me in some other way, and there they will lie, my notebooks, words accumulated, some liberated, others, like jealous children, sit scorning, collecting heavenly dust. Or is it my delusions and my mind that lay this heavenly burden upon me, personifying a random object like a notebook, when truly it and this world doesn't care if these words are voiced or not? I will try to do my best regardless, for I can't help but feel that it is what